This old leather journal, a gift from Grandma, feels worn smooth under my hands years of scribbling down every little hurt, every time I felt overlooked, every single memory. It felt like I was never good enough. I clutch it tight under my graduation gown, needing that familiar feel as the scholarship ceremony rambles on. 3 rows behind me, Mom fidgets. That coral dress, the one she got for Paige's graduation tomorrow, it's practically glowing under the auditorium lights. Dad's checking his watch again, it's like the fourth time in 10 minutes. They're here for the dress rehearsal, you know. The real party's tomorrow, when my twin sister gets her degree in communications. Then President Chen's voice cuts through all the noise. We present our highest academic honor, the Franklin Ledger Fellowship. My heart's pounding, the leather's all sweaty in my hands now. She says this year's winner shows incredible strength. She pauses, looking around the room. Working 3 jobs while keeping perfect grades, Brooke Ellis showed us what true grit is all about. Mom's head shoots up. Dad's hand stops halfway to his phone. President Chen goes on, without any family help, Ms. Ellis cleaned classrooms before sunrise, shelved books until midnight, and still got the top GPA in her class. Her words hang in the air. Every single thing she says is like dropping a rock into a quiet pond, making waves through 20 years of carefully hidden family secrets. Paige starts blinking super fast, like she always does when her whole world gets turned upside down. It's crazy, all those people cheering for me. I felt like a superhero, even though inside, I was just this invisible kid for 23 years. The applause was deafening, but somehow I stayed calm. My legs felt strong, they didn't even wobble. Guess all those early morning jobs built up some serious stamina. I scanned the crowd, and there was Professor Greer giving me a little nod. He was the only one who ever really saw me, you know. I gripped my notebook tight, the cover cracked under the pressure. Just 4 minutes. That's all that separated Paige and me when we were born, but those 4 minutes, they turned into this huge gulf between us. She got all the new toys, the special treatment. I got the hand-me-downs and "you're tough, you'll manage" from Mom whenever I was sick. Paige always needed extra care, but I was just, "you're strong, honey, you'll be fine." It was always like that. The podium felt like it was miles away, but I walked toward it. My heels clicked on the floor, making a steady beat, kind of like the rhythm of all those nights I spent studying in the library, memorizing finance stuff while I shelved books. I wore the same shoes all 4 years of college, polishing them every week. Paige had a closet full of shoes. I couldn't afford to keep buying new ones. Then I remembered last year's awards ceremony. My parents weren't there. Paige's choir performance came first, as usual. Mrs. Martinez, my English teacher, even drove me home after I got the valedictorian award. The streetlights painted the inside of my car, and the truth hit me like a ton of bricks. This was it, my life from now on, but I applied to college anyway. I filled out every single scholarship application, worked every extra shift, and studied even when I was too hungry to eat. Now here I am, looking at this podium, all worn wood and history. I set Grandma's old notebook down next to the mic. It felt like it held all the things we never said out loud. The crowd was waiting. President Chen gave me a really encouraging smile. Professor Greer was leaning in, all attention. Even those corporate recruiters up front were totally focused on me, really seeing me for once. My parents were way in the back, their faces frozen in this shocked look, like a picture that's about to fall apart. 23 years of keeping quiet about to explode. But looking at them, something shifted inside me. I got this sudden strength. I realized I didn't need their approval, not ever. "Thank you, President Chen," I said, and my voice boomed. This award wasn't just for me, it was for everyone who helped me see my own value. The words just poured out like a flood finally breaking free. In the back, Mom's hand flew to her throat. Dad's shoulders tensed up. Paige's eyes were blinking so fast, it was crazy, but it didn't matter. My story was out there, heard by everyone in that room. This old leather notebook. It's got 20 years of stuff nobody else knew about. But tonight, everyone finally gets to see what's been hiding in those pages. My name is Brooke Ellis, and I'm like good enough. The cheering just washes over me as I get off the stage after my speech. Professor Greer comes up and shakes my hand, and his face looks all proud, like he's beaming. Behind him, a bunch of people in suits from different companies are whispering and nodding, and their business cards are already popping out, you know, like magic. "That was an amazing presentation, Ms. Ellis," a woman in a sharp gray suit says, holding out her hand. "We'd love to talk to you about some chances at Gwynn Sachs." Before I can even say anything, my mom's voice cuts right through the noise. Brooke, sweetie. Her coral dress is like splitting the crowd of black graduation gowns, just like a fish going upstream. Dad's right behind her, looking sort of proud but also a little confused. Paige is blinking fast next to them and she's twisting her program, folding it over and over. You should have told us it was this important, Paige says. Mom's smile is super wide, almost too bright. She puts her hand on my shoulder, squeezing pretty tight. Inside my gown, the notebook feels hot against my ribs where I tucked it. Would you have even listened? Her fingers squeeze for a second then let go. The question just hangs in the air, heavy like a storm. Margaret Ellis, she says, turning to the Goldman recruiter. Social autopilot activated. I'm Brooke's mom. We're just so thrilled about her accomplishment. Achievement. One single thing. It's like the last 4 years just boiled down into this one big moment, and a memory hits me, sharp and painful. It was my senior year of high school. College acceptance letters were all over our kitchen table, and Mom was practically glowing at Paige. We've got it covered at Michigan, honey, she said. Your dad and I want you to just enjoy college. Then she turned to me and said, You're smart, Brooke, you'll figure it out. 80 grand. That's what they poured into one of us while I was left to sink or swim. Suddenly, Professor Greer's words broke through my thoughts. Brooke figured out a whole lot, actually. That's why I nominated her for this fellowship. Then he addressed my parents, right to their faces. In all my 15 years of teaching, I've never seen a student work harder. Dad's jaw clenched. If she'd just ask for help, he muttered. Richard, Mom said, her voice a little too cheerful like a saleswoman. I need to call Susan, she won't believe our Brooke won such a big award. Our Brooke, the word stung. Then, a woman I hadn't seen before approached, a person from the scholarship committee. Helen from the scholarship committee mentioned you were quite the legend, she said. She was a tall woman, last year's Franklin ledger opened on her lap, pen in hand. 3 jobs while still getting perfect grades, that's unheard of. Mom's fingers froze on her phone. 3 jobs, the old notebook in my hands felt impossibly heavy. I slowly took it out, letting the worn cover tell its own story. Would you like to see my schedule, Mom? I asked. I kept really detailed records. Paige moved closer, her eyes fluttering like crazy. She was staring at the notebook, the one where I'd written down every single shift, every meal I skipped, every night I crashed at the library help desk, but her voice cracked. You were at every single one of my shows. She remembered seeing me there, doing homework during the breaks. I flipped to another page, the one between my cleaning job in the morning and the library at night. You never said anything. Dad's voice sounded like he was accusing me. You never asked. I turned another page, letting them see the entry from my sophomore year. Their signatures on the emergency room papers for Paige's twisted ankle stood out against the empty space next to my own appendectomy records. Professor Greer cleared his throat. The faculty reception is about to start, Brooke. We'd love for you to come. I closed the notebook, and it slammed shut. Thanks, I said. I'd rather celebrate with the people who actually had my back tonight. Brooke, Mom said, reaching for my arm, we're your family. Yeah, I replied. I stepped back, and I went to the circle of professors and mentors, the ones who saw me when I was just me. You are. But tonight, I was going to spend time with the people who saw me before I was something to brag about. The Goldman recruiter handed me her card. Professor Greer, with a knowing smile, pointed towards the faculty lounge. Behind me, I heard Mom take a shaky breath, Dad cough uncomfortably. Paige just said, oh, I didn't look back. The sound of my heels fades with each step, and I'm thinking, yeah, I knew all this back when I was at that senior year awards thing. I don't actually need their validation, not even a little bit. I never did. 6 months before all this, the alarm shrieks at 4:30 a.m., jolting me out of sleep in my tiny apartment. My phone lights up, showing me a pile of finance books, their corners all beat up from so many late-night study sessions. Next to them, the highlighted notes from the night before were a blur. Derivatives, statistical models, market predictions. Sorry, I mumble to my roommate Sarah, who's passed out. She just makes some sleepy sounds and turns over. The clock on the wall keeps ticking away, never stopping. Hanging on the closet door is my work uniform. Even though it's worn thin, it's been ironed. Those same black pants, white button-up, and sensible shoes I've had since freshman year. Everything's kept nice cause I can't afford to replace anything. The campus is totally deserted at this hour. My shoes sound loud on the empty sidewalks as the stars disappear over all those old buildings. I know that janitor closet key really well in my hand. 4th key from the left, and it's got a little chip on the edge. Inside, the industrial cleaners and paper towels are all lined up. Gotta start with the economics lecture hall. 20 minutes per room if I stick to my normal speed. Sweep, wipe, and disinfect. My hands just do it automatically, which leaves my mind free to go over the formulas for next week's midterm. I mutter to myself, standard deviation is the square root of variance, as I shove the buffer over the beat-up floor. You figure out variance by adding up all the squared differences from the average, and then dividing by the sun starts to peek through the big windows, making these golden rectangles on the freshly cleaned floors. I'm 6 classrooms down and have 2 left. My stomach rumbles, a reminder that the apple I ate yesterday was the last real food I had. The cafeteria doesn't open for another hour. Professor Chen arrives early at the finance department, carrying her briefcase. She gives me a little nod as I grab my cleaning stuff. "Brooke, midterm soon?" she asks. "Yeah, Professor," I say. "Stats on Tuesday." Something like concern softens her eyes. I look away, busy with coiling the vacuum cord. I don't need her pity. I just need to get this shift done and make it to the library before class. The campus is just starting to wake up. Students stroll past in fancy sweats, carrying steaming coffees. A group of girls giggle about the party last night. One of them is wearing the same North Face jacket that Paige posted on Instagram yesterday. Early birthday present from mom and dad. "Love you guys so much," the post said. My phone buzzes. Another Instagram notification. Paige is lounging on a beach in Cancun, holding a fruity drink, spring break with her sorority sisters. "All expenses paid," the caption said. "Living my best life, blessed." I plop down into the library help desk chair at 8 a.m. sharp. 3 textbooks are open in front of me, my notebook balanced on my knee. 20 minutes until my first class and my stomach's growling. Enough time to cram chapter 7 if I skip breakfast again. The numbers on the page are swimming. My hands are a little shaky as I highlight the important stuff. When did I last eat a real meal? Thursday dinner, maybe. Or was it that free pizza at the economics club meeting? "You look like hell," Sarah says flatly when I got back to the room that night. She's on her bed, a psychology book open next to her. "When was the last time you slept more than 4 hours?" I just shrug, throwing my backpack down by my desk. "I'm fine." "You're not fine, you can barely stand up." She watches me grab my notes. "The utility bill's paid, by the way. Don't worry about your half, Sarah, this month. Just shut up and take the help, Ellis." Her voice is totally firm, no arguing. "You do the same for me." But I wouldn't, because I never really learned how to gracefully accept help from anyone. I stare at my finance homework until my brain feels scrambled, and then I pass out. Things completely cracked during that Tuesday midterm. Professor Greer's statistical analysis exam is sitting on the desk, but all the formulas I'd crammed in were totally blank. My hands are shaking like crazy. The room is tilting. Someone is calling my name from far away. Then everything went black. I wake up to bright, awful lights and a bunch of worried faces. The paper on the exam table at the health center crinkles under me. Professor Greer is by the door, arms crossed. "You're just worn out and a little undernourished," the nurse told me, her voice sharp. "When was the last time you actually ate something good?" I tried to think, but everything felt like one big jumble. Professor Greer's face got more serious. "I saw your work schedule," he said softly. 3 jobs and all those classes. Why didn't you even try for a teaching assistant job? The money would have helped." I didn't even think about it. My voice was shaky. "I always just do everything myself." He pulled up a chair. "Brooke, I've been watching you for months. Your market trend analysis is top-notch, graduate-level stuff. And that paper you wrote on crypto regulations? Amazing." He paused. "The Franklin Ledger Fellowship was made for someone like you." I couldn't wrap my head around it. The Franklin Ledger Fellowship, the biggest deal on campus, free tuition, a place to live, and a guaranteed internship. "But that's for the really smart kids," I mumbled. "Yes," he said, looking right at me. "It is." The nurse came back with juice and crackers. My hands were shaking as I reached for them. "Just a little at a time," she said. "Your body needs to get back on track." Professor Greer stood up. "Rest today, we'll talk about the fellowship tomorrow." He stopped at the door. "You deserve this, Brooke, let yourself take it." After the emergency room, I went back to my place. That night, I crawled into bed with my grandmother's notebook. Its pages were filled with years of quiet accomplishments that no one ever saw. Awards I'd won, paid off medical bills I never talked about. I'm juggling 3 jobs and somehow still managing straight A's. But tonight is different. Tonight I write in this journal, and for the first time, it feels like more than just proof. Professor Greer actually sees me. He thinks I'm worth putting his faith in. Sarah's quiet snores are filling our room, the first time in ages. I drift off without setting an alarm. Tomorrow will come with its usual hurdles. But tonight I can just rest. 3 weeks later, the fellowship email hits my inbox. I read it over and over, each word sinking in. We are pleased to inform you. Exceptional academic record. Proven resilience. My thumb hovers over my mom's number. Her last text was 2 months back. Don't forget Paige's spring concert. I set the phone down without calling. This is mine. This is for the girl who scrubbed classrooms at sunrise, who crammed for tests between meals she couldn't really afford, who built something amazing when nobody was looking. The girl who finally realized she was enough all along. The next day at school, Professor Greer grins when I tell him my decision. They'll find out eventually, he says softly. At the ceremony. I know I've been tracing the worn edges of my notebook, but I need to own this win myself before they try to take it. He nods like he understands. Well then, Ms. Ellis, shall we discuss your interview prep? After that, things really start moving. Professor Greer sets me up with a teaching assistant gig, with hours that actually work. The library boss always makes sure my work hours fit with my fellowship stuff. Sarah starts this whole Operation Force Brooke to Sleep thing. My support system carefully starts growing. This grad student, she'd leave me sandwiches from the cafeteria when I was stuck working late. Then there was the study group, who basically became my family over textbooks and coffee. Professor Chen always made time to give me career advice. For the first time, I got what it meant to feel seen, to be valued like I was worth something. The invitation for the graduation ceremony showed up in March. Thick cream-colored paper, gold letters all fancy. It said family should come. When I finally got on the phone, my hand wasn't shaking. Mom, I said, I won something. It's a pretty big deal. The day after the ceremony, the diploma caught the sun. Gold lettering sparkling on that same thick paper. 3 certificates sit on my desk now. They all say I did good: outstanding academic achievement, the Franklin Ledger Fellowship, and department honors in finance. I run my fingers over the seals on each one. All those late nights counting tips at the coffee shop. It's like I still remember that feeling. My phone buzzes. Another job offer, this one from Goldman Sachs. It was the 4th. Today I open my grandma's notebook, and I'm comparing the Boston job with my other offer: higher starting salary, better promotion chances. Perfect. Then I went to my sister Brooke's graduation the next week. Mom's voice boomed through the open doors of the student union. Stand closer together for the pictures, girls. I fidgeted in my coral dress, clutching my communications diploma like a lifeline. She shoved us up against a brick wall, camera at the ready. Closer, Brooke, fix your hair, Paige, that gorgeous smile. It was the same drill she'd put us through since we were 5. Except this time, Professor Greer was watching from across the courtyard, this thoughtful look on his face. And the university president just happened to stroll by, giving us the once-over, like she was studying some weird anthropological specimen. Richard, Mom called out to Dad, come meet Dr. Anderson. She heads the finance department. Our Brooke did so wonderfully there. Our Brooke. That little possessive pronoun felt like a punch to the gut. Dad, all corporate smiles and handshakes, stepped forward. Richard Ellis, he said. We always knew Brooke had a knack for finance. It runs in my family. Professor Anderson's eyebrows went up just a fraction. She was there last semester when I passed out in her office, 2 weeks from 3 straight nights of working. She knew the real story, how much family support I actually got. I slipped away from the picture-perfect moment, weaving through all the happy families, handing out my thank you notes. Professor Greer, the librarian who let me have such a flexible schedule, the scholarship committee who saw my drive even though I didn't join any clubs, I gave them all a note. Then a woman tapped my arm. Ms. Ellis, she said, Deloitte. Ever think about our Boston office? The signing bonus is pretty sweet. Thanks, I mumbled to the recruiter as my mom suddenly appeared right next to me. But that's way too far, I added, glancing at her. Richard, you hear that? She said, turning to my dad. Wouldn't one of those Michigan firms be better, closer to home? I looked back at the recruiter. I'll email you my decision by 5, I promised, trying to escape the conversation. The reception swirled around us, champagne flutes clinking, parents giving those embarrassing speeches, my siblings arguing about where to eat. I just stood there, taking it all in, like I was watching a movie. My mom was snapping pictures like crazy, which was weird because she never used to care about that stuff. My dad was busy name-dropping and bragging about all the connections he could pull. My sister, Paige, looked a little dazed, like she was realizing she wasn't the center of the universe anymore. My phone buzzed with a text from her. Mom keeps grilling me about my future. Seriously, thanks a lot. The sun started to set, stretching shadows across the courtyard. Families were starting to round up their grads and head off to dinner. My mom grabbed my arm just as I reached for my bag. "We've got a table at Giovanni's," she announced, her grip tightening. "Your father's taking us out, a special dinner for our amazing daughters." I gently pulled away. "Actually, I'm having dinner with my study group," I explained. "We made plans a while ago." Her eyes welled up. "We should be together as a family, especially now," she trailed off, gesturing vaguely towards my diploma and awards. "Now that what, Mom?" I asked, my voice tight. "Now that I've finally proved I'm worth celebrating." "That's not fair," she whispered. "We always believed in you." "No," I said quietly but firmly. "You guys thought I could take the silent treatment. But there's a world of difference between that and, well, this." Dad steps up and his checkbook appears like a freaking weapon. He's like, "Look, if it's about cash, I can pitch in for grad school." We should have said something earlier. The thing is, I already got a fellowship at Boston University. It covers everything plus some extra money. I pull out my phone, showing them the email. "And I took the job at Wellington too." Their Boston office. Mom sucks in a breath. "3 weeks, you're leaving in 3 weeks, the apartment is rented. Movers are booked." I hold my grandma's notebook just to ground myself. I already put down the deposits with my fellowship money. "But your sister," Mom starts, "she's got her own journey." I catch Paige's eye, and for the first time I see she actually gets it, just like I get mine. The evening air smells like freshly mowed grass and brand new beginnings. All around us, other families are hanging out, laughing, planning, celebrating. But in our little world of truth-telling, the only sound is the quiet crash of the carefully built lies. I sling my bag over my shoulder, my certificates safe inside. "Thanks for coming to the ceremony," I say. "I've got plans for dinner." Mom reaches for me and the tears finally start flowing. "We're sorry, honey, we never." "I know," I say, the words softer than I thought they would be. "But I needed that apology before I proved I could do it on my own. I needed it when I was starving and scared and completely alone. I needed it every single time. You picked Paige's little things over my big ones." I turned around, then stopped, taking one last look. I didn't need it anymore. Finally free of that weight, I headed toward the study group cafe. They were there, waiting at our usual table in the library cafe, those smart, messed up people who'd become my real family. We clinked plastic cups filled with cheap champagne, toasting to making it through, to achieving our goals, and to knowing our own worth. My phone lit up with Mom calling. I killed the call, grinning as Maria started telling the story about my first all-nighter in the accounting lab. We'd be going our separate ways soon, to different cities and lives. But we were together tonight. These were the people who saw me, before any of the awards or accolades made me visible. The certificates in my bag were more than just proof of my schooling. They were like permission slips for what was to come. They were the evidence that the quiet girl with the beat-up notebook always knew what she was worth. I just needed everyone else to realize it too. 3 weeks later, the last box clicked shut. 3 years of books, budgeting, and earning my own way were boxed up, ready for Boston. My grandma's leather notebook sat on top, waiting. A knock sounded through the mostly empty apartment. 3 sharp taps, then 2 softer ones. Mom's specific knock, just like always since I was a kid. "Brooke," her voice came from the other side of the door. "We brought some stuff for you." My fingers ran over the notebook's worn cover. Of course, they would show up without calling first. Success had finally made me seen. The door swings open, and there's Mom, holding a box, Dad right behind her, checkbook already out. I could see my graduation dress, that coral one, sticking out from under her raincoat. "We found these cleaning out the attic," Mom says, pushing past me and putting the box on the counter. My baby blanket was in there, and some old report cards. "Those went to Paige," I blurted out before I could stop myself. I remembered, it was my 16th birthday and Mom gave them to her for her memory box. Mom's hands just stopped moving. "Did I?" she asked, surprised. "Well, she probably just borrowed them," Dad quickly added. $300, Dad announced, his pen hovering over the checkbook. "For moving expenses. First month's rent too, if you need it." The leather notebook on the counter caught the sunlight. Every single borrowed dollar, every little financial slight, was written down in my neat handwriting. "No thank you," I said, keeping my voice calm like I do at work before the sun even comes up. "I already paid the deposit and the movers, but Boston is crazy expensive." Mom fiddled with her pearl necklace. We want to help, she said. Now that we understand. Now that you've proven yourself, she finished, the words sounding so condescending. It felt like bitter coffee, like all those nights working minimum wage shelving books. I went to my desk and got out my accordion file. Every paycheck stub, every receipt, every scholarship rejections and acceptances were all perfectly organized. Let me show you something, I said. The first folder I opened shows a calendar, everything carefully highlighted. That's when I had my appendix out in 10th grade. You guys were at Paige's tennis thing. The hospital bill is tucked right in there. I used my library job money to pay it, and Mom just kind of melted onto a moving box. We had no clue. Another folder, another bunch of highlighted stuff, and here's my tuition payment plan. Then there's the money transfer for Paige's semester abroad, same time. Now Dad's voice gets all loud, all defensive and angry. We gave you chances to toughen up. To figure things out on my own. The next folder, every awards ceremony they totally missed. You gave me exactly what you thought I should have. Absolutely nothing. My phone buzzes. It's Paige, Mom says, you're being so unfair. We're family. That word, it just kind of hangs there like dust settling in the empty apartment. Family. It's the same argument they've been using for like 23 years. I'm giving these back, I tell her. I hand Mom a little box with some borrowed stuff, an old calculator, a couple of textbooks, a winter coat I grew out of. Everything's been cleaned and fixed up. You don't have to do this, Mom says, and she looks like she's actually crying. For once. We could start over, be closer. Nope, the sureness in my voice even surprises me. We can't. I pick up my grandma's notebook, the pages filled with 20 years of unspoken truths. You taught me to be independent by never helping me out. You showed me how to be strong by never giving me any comfort. You taught me self-reliance by proving I could only depend on myself. My dad's anger kind of faded, and you could see something like maybe regret underneath. That's what we thought anyway. I know what you all were thinking. His words, they just came out easy, smooth and clean, like the last things you write down in a ledger when you're done. You figured I didn't need you anymore. I pointed at the boxes stacked everywhere, the job offer from Boston all fancy in a frame. You were right, I don't, please. Mom stepped forward, reaching for me. Don't make us pay for finally seeing you. This isn't about punishment. I took a step back, my back straight from years of just dealing with stuff myself. This is freedom. The kind you always said was important. Paige was standing in the doorway, blinking like crazy. You could tell she was freaking out. You can't just leave. I've been leaving since we were kids. And you got the new bike. That memory, it was right there, crystal clear. I just didn't have anywhere to go back then. Until now. The silence between us, it just hung there, all the unspoken things, all the years of work I did that nobody noticed. Mom's tears started flowing, real tears, grief instead of the usual drama. Dad just kind of wilted, forgotten was his checkbook. And Paige finally stopped blinking, like she really saw me for maybe the first time ever. I'll send you my new address once I get set up. I opened the door wider, a clear sign to leave. We can talk about boundaries. Later. They walked out slowly, leaving behind all the chances they missed, all the sorries that came too late. The door closed softly, a sound like a promise. I stood alone in the apartment, surrounded by boxes and my future. This leather-bound notebook, it's like a comfort in my hands, holding everything I've been through, who I am now. I'm Brooke Ellis, and I'm finally free. It's been 3 years since I moved to Boston, and I'm finally getting my career off the ground. The morning light pours in through the big windows, making stripes of gold across my desk. From up here on the 32nd floor of one financial center, Boston is spread out like a dream come true. I run my fingers over the old leather of my grandmother's notebook, now sitting alongside my awards and quarterly reports. My intern, Ms. Alice Sarah, is standing in the doorway. She has those dark circles under her eyes, a look I totally remember from when I was in college. I just finished the Miller audit, but something seems off with the third quarter projections. I wave her in, pointing at the chair across from me. Show me what's got you stumped, I tell her. She puts her papers on the shiny desk, her hands shaking just a little, the same way mine used to when I worked the early shifts, cleaning classrooms at midnight, shelving books. I see myself in her drive, in how she makes her lunch money last with peanut butter sandwiches and the free office coffee. Walk me through it, I say, using the words Professor Greer gave me, like they were saving me. While Sarah explains, my phone buzzes. It's Mom's weekly text. Thinking of you, sweetie, Dad and I saw your company in the journal. A year ago, those words would have totally freaked me out. They just drift by now like fallen leaves on the Charles River. Big deal, not like they used to be. Sorry, Sarah mumbled, catching me spacing out. I know you're busy. Nah, I got all the time in the world for you, I said, feeling strong and sure about it. Someone did that for me once when I really needed it. That afternoon, heading into therapy, I saw Dr. Chen had moved things around in her office. The afternoon sun lit up her gray hair as she sat down. So, how's that mentoring program going? She asked. It's growing, I said, sinking into my usual spot on the couch. We're up to 15 students now, full rides and living expenses. She nodded, she knew what a huge deal that was. We'd spent months sorting through all the family drama, about always being the strong one, never needing help until I nearly cracked under the pressure. And then last week's birthday party, I smiled, thinking about it. No strained smiles or fake chit-chat about Paige's accomplishments. Just my people, Sarah and the other mentees, Professor Greer and his wife. Actual friends for the first time. The candles on my cake shone on faces that really saw me. My phone buzzed, cutting off Dad's yearly birthday call 3 days late. His voice sounded just as awkward and distant as it has ever since graduation, ever since I stopped caring about his approval. The Boston office mentioned you're doing amazing work, he said. Thanks, I replied. Dr. Chen always used to say, keep it simple, don't fight change, don't run from it. Paige came to see me last month. We strolled through the park by ourselves, tossing bread to the ducks, trying to figure out how to be sisters again after everything that happened. I never got it, she said, watching a mama swan and her babies. How hard you worked, and how much they missed out. I just let her words hang in the air for a minute, like the leaves falling all around us. I hadn't really gotten it either, not for a long, long time. That afternoon with Paige, it felt like something shifted inside me. Not a big bang, more like a quiet click. Her words didn't erase the past, but they made it feel softer, like there was room for something new to sprout. That's probably why, when the awards ceremony came around, I didn't even think twice about going. That's what I told Dr. Chen anyway before I headed home. The next week there it was, that Industry Excellence Award sitting on my desk, all sparkly in the afternoon sun. The invitation said families were welcome, those words used to make my stomach churn. This time, no fear, no expectations, nothing, and they showed up anyway. I saw them in the back, just like at my first graduation. But everything felt different. It was like those plates shifting under the earth, slowly changing the whole landscape over time. Whether they were there or not didn't matter to me anymore. It didn't define who I am. We launched the Ellis Family Scholarship for independent students last quarter. The selection committee meeting went late, papers were everywhere. Every application, it's like looking in a mirror. I see myself in those carefully planned budgets, the juggling of multiple jobs, that quiet grit to build something from scratch. Grandma's words, man, they really hit home with these kids. Professor Greer, I remember him going through those essays he flew in for, helped pick the first winners. His hair's still silver, his eyes still so kind. My fingers traced the worn cover of her notebook, the pages soft from all those years. That quote that saved my life, it's on every scholarship letter now. You don't need the world to see you, you just need to see yourself. I tucked the notebook back in my bag, it always grounds me, what was once my lifeline. Now it's a legacy, a quiet testament to how far I've come and how far I can help others go. Leaving the meeting, walking into that beautiful autumn light, this voice stops me right there in the park. Crisp air filling my lungs, a young woman walks up. Ms. Ellis, she says, I heard your speech at the financial literacy workshop. She's got this worn backpack, you could see the fear mixed with this incredible strength in her eyes. Could I get your advice? She asked. I led her to a bench by the Swan boats, the same spot Paige, and I started to fix things between us as grown-ups. I opened Grandma's notebook, shared the wisdom that pulled me out of the shadows, helped me become the woman I am today, someone who finally sees herself. The afternoon sun, it was all golden light and hope. My mom's texts are piling up, unanswered, somewhere out there in the city. I haven't listened to my dad's messages either. They're finally starting to get it, to understand the daughter they never really knew. But honestly, their understanding doesn't mean a thing compared to my own self-acceptance. I'm Brooke Ellis, mentor, sister, survivor. I'm the strong one, the one who turned that strong label which used to feel like a heavy weight into something amazing. I was the invisible daughter, but I built myself up, became a beacon of hope for others. Looking at this young woman, searching through that same darkness, I see the hesitation fading, replaced by something real. Hope. It's like there's this connection between us, spanning time, passing down Grandma's wisdom to the next generation of us invisible girls finally learning to truly see ourselves.